Let me share my window.
Perfect.
Okay,
Well,
can you see my screen?
we can. Thank you for joining us, Hadi. Everybody, this is Hadi with BlindSpots. He's going to be showing us his tool, video call platform for AI cheating detection. We were just kind of talking about it. Has been a theme that we've been seeing lately. So excited to have you here, Hadi. Yeah, feel free to kick off whenever you're ready.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Sabrina. Hey guys, my name is Hadi. Today I'll be talking about our product BlindSpots, which is the first video call platform that has been built from the ground up to detect AI-enabled cheating. But before I talk about the product itself, let me introduce you to this guy right here. This is Roy Lee.
Hadi,
And
sorry, your screen's no longer showing.
oh, hold on. This is a Google problem. I apologize. Happens a ton. Please let me know if that happens again.
We definitely will.
Hold on. Okay, this. Okay, can you see my screen? Should be all black.
Yes, we
Perfect. So I want to introduce you to this guy right here. He is Roy Lee, and he is infamous for building the Cheat at Everything app. It's called Cluely, and it kind of helps you use AI to cheat through your interview process. And what Roy showed is that by using applications such as his, you can get offers from your dream companies, right? From Snowflake, from Microsoft, and from NVIDIA, and many more. And once he put this out back in August of 25, Roy went viral. And right after that, he was able to raise $15 million from A16Z. In fact, he was so successful that it kind of spurred an entire industry, which we can call cheating as a service, where there are dozens and dozens and dozens of like paid and free applications out there that kind of help you cheat through the interview process. Now, you might ask yourself, like, how bad is the problem anyway? And it's pretty bad. According to a recent report, like 4 in 10 candidates use AI to cheat through the interview process. In fact, the problem has become so bad that Google is now mandating in-person interviews because the problem is rampant and it's really hard to detect. And since then, a ton of companies have followed suit, and more companies now mandate in-person interviews. One thing I want to impress upon everyone is this is not just a problem on coding interviews. In fact, it's happening across the entire interview lifecycle. So it starts off at the phone screen level, right? And it kind of goes off what Michael just said, where like a candidate puts like some fake experience in the resume, something like, I was a big shot at Google. And when the interviewer like kind of presses them on that experience, the AI cheating tool like suggests these really convincing answers that are really hard to like, identify as lies. And the candidate just reads the answers off the screen and is able to convince the interviewer that that fake experience was in fact not fake at all. It also happens at the behavioral stage. This is where the team culture fit questions are asked, like something like, would you act unethically to get a job? And here again, the AI will provide like these really good tailored answers that the candidate can just read off the screen and really exhibit that really good culture fit. And finally, it also happens at the technical stage, but this stage is not only like limited to programming roles, right? Not only to software engineering roles. What we've been seeing so far is like, people interviewing for sales roles are also using the same tools to cheat on interviews. Traditional engineering roles, like, mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, people are like, have realized they can use AI to cheat with their way through the interview process because of the tough job market. And this was the most concerning one. When, in fact, I was actually like talking to one of my professors from back in college, and he told me how they are seeing candidates who are interviewing for teaching roles, who are interviewing for professor roles, actually using these same kind of tools to kind of cheat through the process. So I think what I want to like ask everyone to take away from this slide here is like, no role is safe. It's not just software engineering roles. And it's not just the technical round, it's happening across the entire interview lifecycle. And, why should you care at all? And that's primarily for 2 reasons. Number one is time, because, more than half, since like half of the folks who interview these days due to the interview process, That like approximates to 12 hours of interviews every single week that recruiters are doing that are with folks who are just cheating through the process. So that's a lot of wasted time. And it's also money because once a bad hire gets through the pipeline, it becomes super expensive to like get them out of the system. So what I've shown you so far is that cheating is rampant, that cheating is happening across the entire interview lifecycle. And the cheating problem is really expensive in terms of time and money. So I think it's worth taking just like a minute or two to see what is already out there that can help you with this cheating detection problem. And the market of cheating detection tools is pretty abysmal right now. And that's because a lot of the tools are not zero install. So in order for them to detect cheating, they actually ask candidates to download spyware onto their personal devices just so they have that opportunity to interview for a role. And that's bad for two reasons. Number one, the fastest way to lose a really good candidate is to ask them to install like a random application on their personal device. And the second reason
Hadi,
is...
I'm sorry. I don't know if you meant to stop sharing, but you stopped sharing. I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. I apologize. By the way, feel free to ask questions. Hold on. Okay. Okay, so I think I was here, right? So yeah, like the fastest way to lose a candidate is to ask them to install something on their personal device, just so they have the opportunity to interview with you. And the other issue is that these cheating tools that require installation don't even work that well. They don't detect all different types of cheating tools out there. The other problem is that the tools that do not require downloading an application use fuzzy metrics. What that means is they use something like eye tracking or audio pauses to see if someone's like cheating or not. And this, again, is pretty fragile because these things aren't really accurate. And what that results in is a ton of false positives. And these false positives really increase your exposure to risk and liability. And that's because of these false positives, a lot of really good and honest candidates might be flagged as cheaters. And as a result, you lose really good talent. And because of that, it might actually open you up exposure to litigation as well. Because if you go on Reddit and LinkedIn, there are tons of stories out there of how candidates are like, hey, I was not cheating through the interview process, I promise, but the system flagged me as a cheater. And finally, these cheating detection tools don't offer pre-interview detection. What that means is you still have to run the entire 30-minute interview, the full session, just so the cheating detection algorithm or system can flag someone as cheating or not. There's no early filtering. What that means is you're still interviewing those candidates who are cheating, and you're still wasting like 12 hours a day, 12 hours a week, just interviewing these fraudulent candidates. And these are the set of problems that BlindSpots was designed to solve. We don't require any installation. It's super data driven, and I'll show you what that means in 1 second. Because we don't use any sort of fuzzy metrics. That also makes it auditable, which means that it reduces your exposure to risk and liability. And finally, BlindSpots can detect the presence of interview cheating tools before the interview even begins. What that means is before the first question is asked, the moment the candidate logs in, BlindSpots is able to pick up whether someone has a cheating tool running in the background. And BlindSpots is built off of one key observation, which is that like modern video conferencing tools that people use for interviewing, like Google Meets, Zoom, and Teams, these tools are not built for cheating detection. They are great at video conferencing, but they don't have any relevant features that can help you identify if someone is cheating or not. And as a result, BlindSpots was built as the first video call software that was built from the ground up to detect AI cheating. And this is how it works effectively. It provides a shareable video link. It's much like Google Meets that you and the candidate can join, and BlindSpots will take care of the rest. And it works in like a 3-strike mechanism, where the first strike is that BlindSpots can actually detect a cheating tool at login time. It can also pinpoint the location of the cheating tool that the candidate is using to answer the questions. And finally, it can also trick the cheating tool into answering a completely different question. Before I jump into the actual demo, which I'll show in the next slide, any questions so far? Did I leave everyone speechless?
I love your
I mean, this is
presentation.
more for down the road, but like integration-wise, do you integrate with like different tools and systems? I'm thinking like, you know, HackerRank or coding tools or whatever, right? Or IDEs, you know, CoderPad, those types of things.
Yeah, so BlindSpots provides its own IDE that runs internally.
Cool.
Fantastic. Okay. So I'll just jump into the demo then. Here's the video. Let me just put it on. Okay, so this is what you'll see, or this is what BlindSpots looks like. So that's like a video link that you can share with the candidate. On the left side, you can see what you will see as the interviewer. And on the right side, this is what you'll see as the candidate. So as an interviewer, you don't have to do much. All you have to do is just click the button and join the video call. And on the interviewee side, the candidate side, what you can see here is that there's a cheating tool running in the background. So when the interviewee joins the call, let's see what happens. So the interviewee just clicks a button, and boom. What you can see over here is that that's the first strike, where BlindSpots was able to detect the cheating tool at login time. This is before even a single question is asked. What that means is you can either decide to continue with the interview, or you can just like, cut the interview short and save the next 30 minutes of your life, and do like, claim back those 12 hours a week that you're wasting interviewing folks who have cheating tools running in the background.
You stop sharing again.
Again, guys.
Sorry if you already said this, Hadi, but for detecting that cheating tool, is it only on specific tools that you are already aware of as cheating tools, or can it detect any, like, is the intent that it could detect any, even ones that you/BlindSpots has never heard of?
So the idea was to be able to detect any sort of cheating tool out there, and to like, I'll get to that in 1 second. Because we ran like an open study, but I tried like a lot of these tools. They work pretty much the same way, right? And BlindSpots can detect all of them. And even now, like within the demo, I'm only showing you one tool. There are tons of like different tools out there. And the whole idea was I want to take off the load of like detecting cheating from like the interviewer or the hiring manager, and let that integrity stage be like be addressed by BlindSpots altogether. So there are different types of tools, different family of tools. And the whole goal was, I want the interviewer to just focus on the interviewee and just BlindSpots take care of the rest.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay. So
I'm sorry, we got a question from Scott. Is ChatGPT or other similar tools flagged as cheating? Curious if it'll identify what the tool is to give the hiring manager the ability to decide if it's acceptable or not.
That's fantastic. So when someone uses ChatGPT, they kind of have to like open a different window, right? And that's shown as like, oh, hey, the candidate's opening a different window. So that itself is not marked as cheating. But then because the candidate is sharing their screen as well, the interviewer will know like, oh, like they just opened up ChatGPT. Now, if the candidate did not open ChatGPT, and I'll just show you that in 1 second, and they're still giving like really like well-structured answers, that would be flagged as cheating. And I'll just show you that in 1 second. Okay. Oh, hold on. Sorry, apologize. So here we go. Okay, strike one. Now, I think Scott just asked the question. So what if someone's using ChatGPT? Yes, we won't flag that as cheating. However, if there's a cheating tool running in the background, what BlindSpots will do is try to locate the cheating tool on the candidate screen. So let's say you decide to continue with the interview. The interview is going, and boom. BlindSpots was able to like pinpoint the location of the cheating tool itself. So you can see that the cheating tool is somewhere in the middle of the screen on the candidate side, and on the interviewer side, BlindSpots was able to detect, okay, that's where the cheating tool lives, and that's strike two. What this enables you to do is to give you like that data-driven decision-making process, because you don't want to just throw away like a good candidate because you have a gut feeling that someone's cheating. You want like really good data to back it up. And if the candidate comes back to you and be like, hey, I wasn't cheating, you can just show them like, hey, like we saw like you were running the cheating tool on like the top right corner of your screen, right? So that's strike two. Now, strike three is where BlindSpots will actually force the cheating tool to read a completely different problem off the screen. And this really works well for technical interviews, programming interviews. So this is BlindSpots IDE, like in the background. You can see like the question on the white background, yeah. And on the top, you can see like the cheating tool that's running. The candidate takes a screenshot, and then the candidate passes that screenshot to the cheating tool to produce a text or to answer the question on the screen. Now, this is strike three. The reason that this is strike three is that if you notice the question on the screen, which says given an array of integers, right, is a completely different question than the question that the cheating tool is reading, which is like the string is written in a zigzag pattern. So what this enables a recruiter, not a recruiter per se, but like an engineering manager to do is to say like, look, I asked you one question, but you're answering a completely different question that only the cheating tool can see. So that gives you three strikes. The first strike is you can detect the cheating tool at login time. The second strike is you can locate pinpoint the location of the cheating tool. And the third strike is you can confuse the cheating tool into reading a completely different question off the interview screen. Okay, hold on. Apologies. Any questions so far? Okay. One question that I wanted to ask myself, and hopefully like you're asking yourself as well, is like, okay, fun demo, but how accurate is it actually? And I wanted to answer that question myself as well, because the last thing I wanted to do was to put out like a broken cheating detection tool that accidentally misclassifies like honest people who are looking for a job, like, who are just trying to like pay rent, marks them as cheaters. So what I did was I posted like an open challenge on the internet. And what I did was I started going online on all these social media websites, LinkedIn, Reddit, Twitter. And I posted there like, hey guys, I built this AI cheating detection tool. Please try it out. If you can beat it, I will pay you money. Because the whole idea was, nothing motivates people like money does. And in a couple of weeks, so this was back in January of this year, I made those posts. And in a couple of weeks, I got 100 or more submissions. And what was really nice is like BlindSpots was able to catch every single cheating attempt. Some final words. AI cheating is now the norm, right? Like there are tons and tons of like studies out there that show like how a lot of people are using AI to cheat on interviews, and it's just going to get worse. And it's thanks to this guy right here, Roy Lee.
Hadi, you're not sharing anymore.
Apologies again. Okay, so yeah, AI cheating is the new norm, thanks to this guy. And hiring managers and recruiters are wasting a ton of time interviewing folks that are like cheating through the interview process. And these bad hires cost a lot of money as well. And BlindSpots was built to be the answer to this like a cheating epidemic. And it's battle tested because we put out an open challenge to see how well it works. And we believe that BlindSpots offers like tremendous advantages over the traditional solutions out there on the market right now. And that's because we don't require any installation. Our results are data-driven. And because of that, you can audit the system and say like why someone is flagged as a cheater or not. And finally, pre-interview detection, we can detect cheating even before the interview starts. And with that, I will take easy questions.
I actually have a question that I forgot to ask last time. I know that you kind of sent out a message and had a lot of people try to basically break this. When they were doing or like kind of messing around with the tool, was it predominantly tech interviews? Like I know you mentioned this can kind of identify all types of like interview, like if they're using different AI tools or things like that. But was it, and even in your testing, was it predominantly like tech type of interviews that this was happening in, or was it kind of across the board?
Yeah, so when we put it out there, that was tech interviews. So what I saw was, like people like have to make an account. So a lot of them were students trying to break the tool, which is great for me because I'm like nothing motivates them more than trying to land that job or to break something. But since then, I've put the product out there for commercial use, and recruiters are using it as well. And a lot of the recruiters that I'm working with right now are like at the sourcing level, where like the phone screen level. So they themselves are using it for conducting phone screens.
Got it. And I know I kind of briefly mentioned this too, but do you have any plans to kind of take this, be able to kind of implement this tool prior to the actual interview, like the actual like live interview or like video interview? Because I think, again, a lot of us are also running into this new like LinkedIn identity thing that we are running into, like fake AI applications, things along those lines.
Right. So I have a slide for that actually. Let's see. So yeah, coming soon, things that we're working on right now. The top one is ATS integration. So more people can use it. One thing we want to look at was deepfake detection, because another like avenue of fraud was people using deepfakes to like go through the interview process. Candid geolocation, because a couple of folks I talked to recently, they're complaining about how like they're having a lot of North Koreans interview these days. And what you just mentioned, which was like the resume authenticity, right? Like, is this like a real resume? Is this like just AI generated? People I know are submitting like thousands of interviews or are submitting thousands of applications. The same person is using AI to submit 1,000 applications for the same job just to increase their odds. And the goal is to be able to like, address each and every single one of these like aspects of fraud that are common out there right now.
Awesome. Yeah, the deep fake is crazy. That's crazy. Not something I ever thought that I would have to worry about. I think Scott had a question as well. Go ahead, Scott.
Thanks. Yes. So 2 questions. One, how do you handle multiple monitors and multiple screens? Because you're talking about eye contact and diverting, left or right, up or down, right? And you mentioned that was, I think, one of the strikes. So that would be the first question that I have. I do have another one, but maybe we'll start there.
The multiple monitor was the easy one to address because like browsers already have that like function call, which you just check, like you ask the browser, hey, like, are there multiple monitors running on the OS? And it tells you yes or no. But that's just like super simple. It's just like one line of code that's already built into BlindSpots already.
Okay, that makes sense. And then you've also mentioned communication. So people answering questions very well, or saying or pausing. Could you talk about how you classify that?
We don't look at any of those behavioral metrics primarily because, if someone's having anxiety, their pauses or their eye movement might be like, different than someone who's just really confident and comfortable. So that's why that's what existing tools do. And those create false positives. So we don't look at any of that. All we look at is like, if the cheating tool lives on the person's screen, was it there at login time, and stuff like that.
Got it. I must have misheard you then, because I thought you had said that if a candidate was answering questions too well, that it would flag. Did you not say that? Or did I mishear it?
Oh, BlindSpots doesn't do that at all. Primarily because, a lot of times, like if someone is giving a really good answer, it just might be that they might be a really good candidate. And the whole thing was to avoid those kinds of false positives.
Okay, got it. Then I must have just misheard you. So I wanted clarity. So thank you.
Hadi, I am super excited about the deepfake piece because that's something that I have experienced multiple times now. So curious about timeline on that, and also have you, or I guess along with that, have you considered for blind spots, like for the same candidate in the same interview process, the tool calling out if a different face appears at a different stage of interviews, like facial recognition for that candidate later on? Because, for example, I know there have been instances where I met someone in an interview and someone later down the line met someone completely different. So is there something in the pipe for you to look at that as well?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. Let me answer the first one real quick. So BlindSpots kind of does that already. A lot of times people use deepfakes is because when you're reading off the screen, a recruiter might be able to tell, okay, like their eyes are moving, clearly they're cheating. So people use deepfakes so that their eyes are like fixated on the screen, on the camera. So even when they're reading off the screen, like the video doesn't change. So BlindSpots helps there because like if they're reading off the screen, the system will pick up that, okay, they're like using a cheating tool to read off the screen. Regarding like facial verification, yeah, like I think the long-term goal with this was like, what kind of problems can we solve if we have a video platform that we control ourselves, right? So like facial detection is definitely one of them. So right now the goal was, try to like get this product into the hands of as many people as possible and start working on like these other aspects of interview fraud in the background.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Hadi, I know we kind of, I didn't really kind of dig into it. I did kind of mention the group might ask about this. I'll ask about it, and I'm sure people will have the same question. But and I'm not 100% familiar in all the rules and regulations around this. But do you anticipate kind of running into like requirements and like rules around not being able to do this and not being able to detect things on people's screen, like just kind of an invasion of privacy type regulation?
Fantastic. I have a slide for that as well. So let me share my screen. Okay. I think so. So question is like, does BlindSpots ensure user privacy? The short answer is yes. The long answer is because it's entirely browser based. Browsers are inherently like built to be super secure and like really like force privacy like on every single website that runs on them. So if you look at Chrome, it blocks a ton of permissions that might invade someone's privacy. Which obviously makes the cheating detection problem really hard. And that's why, like, if you look at the market of cheating detection tools, a lot of them are just vibe coded, or they have the problems that I just mentioned earlier. But even within those permissions that are like vetted by Google and Microsoft and Apple, it's not impossible to detect cheating while still preserving like the individual's privacy. Oh, sorry, hold on. Yeah. So yeah, it's still possible to like solve this problem without like getting access to things that no one should get access to, because like these companies block that already.
Okay, that is helpful to know. Yeah, I think it's always like, we're technically, I think we're more inclined to try to follow the HR umbrella and HR regulations, but there's so many different like AI tools and everything now that it's hard to know what is legal, what's not legal, I guess.
Right. And like, these companies that build these browsers already do that job like for us.
That makes sense. Any other questions from the group? I'd like to give Hadi some time to ask us questions as well, but any other questions from our group?
Okay, then I think I'll just ask mine. I showed you how it works. Like it's like a shareable video link, detects cheating. What is like for you folks, like what would be the biggest friction point that will like prevent you from using it today?
I think it's, for me, it's probably the security aspect and getting it through our security team
Mhm.
would be kind of just one pain point.
I see. And what does that usually look like? What is the concern there?
So that's what I don't know. Like, obviously there's a security review process. And so not being as deeply technical, I'm not sure what that looks like or what they would be asking you, but it would probably be, and legal too, right? Around kind of those privacy things that you just mentioned, right? So just making sure that we build up enough of a business case to then push it through that and then see where, what pushback or feedback they have.
Okay, makes sense. I think Andy just asked, having generated a link each time and getting that into an invite values as scheduled right now is integrated with Google Meet is automated. Oh yeah, so the way it's set up, like you can still have like one general link and kind of like ask people to join that or like have it automated. So that's still that is like kind of already baked into the product itself. Though I think, Andy, what you mean is like can you like integrate with like a calendar, like a Calendly like type of software? Is that what you mean?
I had the same question. I can talk about this a little bit. So yeah, I use Ashby just like Andy does. And when we're generating new interviews, it's also going to generate the Zoom link or the Google Meet link for us automatically, put it in the email so we don't have to do any of the packaging. And then when we join the call, it's a unique call ID, unique Zoom ID, unique Google Meet. If we were to implement this tool, we'd have to change our tooling or our messaging to build in this link. And it sounds like it's just one link per company or one link per account. I'm not sure how that works, but that would not play well in its current state with our ATS, which is automatically assigning video links.
Okay, so I think like ATS integration should be like, it is possible. It just like I should like kind of push on it for harder then. I think that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that would be a major pain point out of your way for not too heavy of a lift, I hope.
Yeah, I would add, first of all, Hadi, that great presentation. Appreciate you walking through all this. I would add in a public company or larger company, right, that's in a regulated space, there's a lot of compliance around, can you record interviews? How do you, what's your data retention policy in terms of notes or, feedback, things like that. So having access to a candidate who is not opted in screen would be, at least for my organization, but I'm sure there'd be plenty of other organizations that might approach it similarly, would be problematic or a challenge.
Okay.
So we would have to reconfigure and have a candidate explicitly opt in to making them aware of this. And then at the same time, right to your point, you don't want to lose great candidates. So if somebody said, no, I don't want to, have AI reading my screen, what happens there, right? So I think that would be a hurdle just to think through as you're talking to companies.
Fantastic. Okay, that makes sense. The good thing is that because we aren't using AI to read like someone's screen, there's nothing to opt in and opt out of. It's very similar to like Google Meets. Google Meets doesn't usually like use AI to when you're doing screen share, which also means that like because we're not using AI, like there's like a fewer chances of false positives.
Sure, but there's still you have to notify a candidate saying we're going to do a video interview, right? And you're opting into video. So the fact that they are a company would be able to determine if a candidate is cheating or not, the candidate would likely need to be aware of that.
Okay, fantastic.
And that they are using a tool, whether it's AI or some systematic programming, prediction, whatever we want to call it, right? The candidate would need to be aware that they are being evaluated by a system, a tool, not just a human in the process.
That makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. I see another question about pricing. So yeah, like I haven't optimized for pricing yet. The way I structured it was like and you guys can push back on this. The idea was recruiters don't want to pay more than what they pay for their ATS. So the idea was to have this as cheap as possible, so they're paying less than their ATS system. Is that the right way to think about the problem?
Yes. So there's so many of these solutions out here, Hadi, that by the time you start to combine them all together, because they're again, because there's so many, it's hard to get through from a finance perspective to have multiple tools stacked onto your ATS. Unless they're solving a big enough problem for ROI.
Makes sense. Okay.
This one, this is something that we were just having a random conversation at lunch about yesterday, was that companies that have inadvertently hired, fake candidates or, bad actor candidates, right? The ROI there might be something they'd be willing to spend on, but when you're pricing it close to the ATS, then it's going to be hard to get that pushed through from a budgetary perspective, because these tools are becoming add-ons versus we absolutely need them.
I see what you mean. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I see another question here as well. Do you get a report or recording of cheating detection that maintain passing? So the cheating detection report is on your computer. So if you were to it's saved locally on your browser. So if you were to open the same link again, you'll be able to see it because it's already there. So it doesn't actually need to live on the cloud.
I think what she means, Hadi, is if we were ever asked later down the line why we chose not to move forward with a candidate, is there some kind of reporting somewhere within BlindSpots where we can go and look at a list of every candidate who's interviewed via BlindSpots with us and see the result of this person was cheating, this person was not. Historical record keeping.
Oh yeah, that also happens. I just didn't show that aspect because I felt like that wasn't the cool aspect of the product. But yeah, that is definitely saved.
Okay, so there is some place we can go back and pull historical data of everyone we've ever interviewed who was cheating.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, cool. No problem, Andy.
Are candidates notified if the system flags them as cheating? No. That was a conscious decision. I am more than happy to if anyone wants to push back on that, I'm more than happy to entertain a different approach. But no, the system only tells the interviewer that this candidate is cheating. Which ATS that's I'll fall on my own sword. One big problem that I have is have not integrated into any ATS yet. And the goal was there are a couple of big ATSs out there. I would just aim for the top few big ones. I know Ashby is one of the big ones, so just go with that. If you guys disagree, please let me know. I think that would be good feedback for me.
I think it's going to be dependent on who you're targeting for your your ICP. In the startup world, Ashby's pretty predominant. We also use Greenhouse Lever, some of those. But if you kind of move into the enterprise space, that's also going to be Workday and all of those kind of bigger ATS. So I think it really it depends on who. I guess that's a good question. Who are you kind of targeting for this tool in particular?
Oh, okay. So you guys can give me feedback, and I appreciate it. My understanding was you don't go for the big fish on your first try. You kind of start working with startups, smaller companies, individual recruiters, start to get logos under your belt, logos on your website, and then kind of go to bigger companies because they have a lot more. The contract cycles are much longer, and they have a lot more legal and compliance things they worry about. Is that the right way to think about the problem?
Yeah, I think for the most part, I think that's kind of a typical. I also just think the startup world is probably more. I don't know. It depends who you ask, right? In the startup world, it's harder to. We don't typically have tools like this, so you're kind of having to do it yourself and figure out if people are fake or not. In the enterprise world, they have the resources, and I'm sure they are maybe already using tools like this, but they might be running into issues of they have so many applications because they're just a big company that they're seeing this a lot more than we are from a startup perspective. I don't know if all startups are kind of seeing this, and a lot of startups, sometimes we primarily source our candidates versus we don't really get applicants or anything like that. And an enterprise company is going to get a ton of applicants, so they're probably going to have more a higher level of candidate fraud.
That makes sense. One question for the group, actually, because like, like one way to solve the problem of like hundreds of applications or thousands of applications for the same job is to do like do those AI video interviews. Like where does this group like sit on that?
Like having an AI bot do our interviews?
Right. Just so it
I'm
actually like narrows down the number of
I'm
applications.
actually exploring that. I'm exploring that to replace me to do like junior level or entry level calls.
Okay. Makes sense. What has been like the biggest challenge there? Because I know like sometimes people are just like, people say on LinkedIn at least like, hey, like if you don't have time for me, like should I have time for a video bot?
I would only deploy it for like lower level roles that I don't need to kind of handhold really, because I also automate scheduling for lower level roles as well.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. Any other questions for me?
Just one thing, you mentioned that it uses local storage on our browser. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So let's just say my computer, crashes and I have to switch to a new computer. What happens to all that data?
Oh, there's like a small copy of the data that I hold as well on the cloud, which is like, hey, if this person cheated, where on the screen was the cheating tool? Very minimal things.
So it is going to a cloud system then, not just all local storage.
Very like minimal, just so I have like a backup.
Okay.
Is your plan to expand that as you like acquire more customers and such? Because I think especially for enterprise clients that you might end up acquiring, and any like high compliance org is going to want more of a fail safe than that all of the historical data would still be accessible somewhere if that person whose browser it was saved on exited the company or the computer died, permanently. I think a lot of companies, and including myself coming from like the fintech startup world, it's still like, I wasn't at enterprise, but it's still very high compliance. Security and legal are very persnickety about what exists there. So do you have plans or have you thought about expanding that?
I think that's a really good question. I had not thought about it yet, primarily because I think I was going for like smaller companies that wouldn't have that kind of like bottleneck. But I think you're right. I think once I start expanding to bigger customers, that's something I really need to think about.
Or, I mean, like I said, high compliance, anyone in like legal tech, fintech, spaces like that are going to have a higher threshold for security and legal approvals.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I had not think that far. I had not thought that far ahead. And I think that you bring up a really good point. Any other easy questions?
I think you stumped us all, Hadi. But thank you so much for the presentation today. Any kind of last questions for the group, for us?
No, I appreciate you finding the time. I know I have promised a lot of things in this demo, so if you guys ever want to like try it out on an interview you want to go like run, please feel free to have a shot. Send me a message and I can like give you access.
Awesome. Yeah, Hadi, I will share your contact information with the people on this call today. I also will share this video internally with the group, so the rest of the group can check it out. We do share a feedback form as well, so if anyone kind of adds feedback, I'll be relaying it to you.
Fantastic. That would be great. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Hadi. It was really nice chatting with you. Thanks, everyone, for joining today.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Hadi.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Hadi.
Bye, everyone.